My father was a director of a factory which produced anchoring chains for ships. Everybody in the factory was fearing the electricity, since they couldn't see what the electrical currents would do. My curiosity then turned to electricity, and then later to electrical communications, and then later I became an amateur radio operator. I got a license in '58. I went to an industry research center and worked on electronic switching. And then later I joined the national carrier, the Deutsche Telekom, becoming project manager for the national packet switching network. We had in the country a cellular network. All the analog networks we had in Europe were incompatible. You could not use them when you crossed borders. We decided then to go into the European standardization and to make GSM really happen. And I became project manager of this successor technology. Of course, all players were invited to think of contributions and ideas. I, with my data background, thought, what can we do on this telephony optimized system for data applications? Mobile telephones had a handset which had a display and had a keypad, so one could generate a message with this keypad. It was clumsy, but possible. I thought of a feature which should be usable in all telephones, but for that it needed to be cheap. And then I thought we should use for the transmission of the data from the terminal to the network the signaling channels, control channels, which existed for telephony anyhow, on a lower priority, since these channels were not used 95% of the time. So there was capacity available for free. So the only new element which we needed was a server to store the message. This concept had one drawback. Due to this chosen implementation scheme, a limitation in the message length, which turned out then in the end to be these famous 160 characters. When I presented this concept internally, everybody laughed at me. This is a totally useless service. Nobody can do something with it. We had no market research at the time, and so then I sat down and I looked for plausibility things. And then I did sit down on a typewriter and type messages. and then I saw there is a useful application for this. Then I presented this material totally internally and also to the France Telecom people. We worked together with the French PTT. They said we should go forward with this. Then it was accepted as part of the GSM services program. From '93 onwards, the terminals had SMS and the networks had SMS, but nobody used it. This was discovered by young people, and then they used this, and it became part of the youth culture, and then it became a really unbelievable success. My main work was at the time, of course, to work on the main GSM standard. SMS was a nice byproduct. I coordinated all contributions coming from Germany. That's about 30% of the contributions to GSM. This was the standards track of what I have done, and in parallel I was responsible for setting up the Deutsche Telekom's GSM network, D1. So I took on an appointment for 2 years as the first technical director of the GSM Association. Then in '96 I became chairman of the standardization groups. This is a committee which had 150 delegates and some 50 companies, roughly. The difficult thing was the radio decision for the third generation. We would need to have a single globally applicable technical specification. And then we needed to have a working body where everybody from the world could participate. I then took this and made a proposal to transfer all GSM and UMTS 3G work into such a new animal, which later was called 3GPP. You might have heard this term, Third Generation Partnership Project. We made it in steps. We transferred 3G first only, and then GSM a little bit later, and then closed Technical Committee SMG in summer 2000, and I chaired it to the end. I have seen so many surprises, really miracles, which I never had expected to become true. It's really unbelievable for me also today. If I imagine that this SMS service is now in the pocket of 7 billion people, it's unbelievable that a piece where your idea has gone is now so widely used by so many people.